Okay, now this video is about how to weaponize the way you suspect people. You got to weaponize it. It's got to be your strong point when you're doing your SWOT analysis. You don't have to call it a SWOT analysis if that's too mainstream for you. But when you're examining what your strong points are, the way you suspect people must be be one of your strong points. It can't be something that's a weakness. It will become a weakness if it leads to paranoid schizophrenia. But if you handle suspicions right, then you have to understand that everybody suspects in society. Like I said to you in my previous videos, policemen suspect. If we didn't suspect, we'll have no need for car alarms. We'll have no need for home protection or business protection. We'll have no need for CCTV if we didn't suspect. Yeah, so everybody suspects that something's going on. That's why you install where you have installations and you have behaviors that are like preventative measures, because you suspect that something will happen, might happen, or probably is already happening. So suspecting people is not a bad thing. It's just when you do it the wrong way. Now, in terms of me, I'm a type of targeted individual that has gone through the levels, and it started off with just I think it was just electronic targeting. Yeah. Well, no, it started off with NLP. Yeah, then it moved on to electronic targeting with NLP, but now they've introduced a demonic component. The demonic component was always there. That's why there's type A and type B. Type A's, through history, they were, let's just say there was the time of the dark to middle ages, where they were hunted down and burnt as witches and things like that. So they became very skilled at hiding their ability to see into people's minds. But now they're starting to get the confidence to surface again. This time I do hope we try to do it different and we don't go that route. I hope they don't cause us to behave like that, and I hope we don't cause them to behave the way they was behaving before we gained the power when Jesus came. So basically, we've got to a point where it's kind of a free-for-all. You have to look at your system and government as people who are secular in every aspect. They should be, but there are certain religions who try to make them answer to their call. But they should be secular. They shouldn't be turning up to defend any religion. If you defend one, you defend them all. Yeah, they shouldn't be involved in choosing one over the other. Yeah, but in some instances it happens like that. The system is for sale, so whichever religion is using it, they'll use it. Whichever company is using it, they'll use it. Whichever individual is using it, they're using it. There's people who use the system that we all pay taxes to put in place as their own army. So, but they're not allowed to do it because we all contribute to making the system. But back to the message, which is how to weaponize the way you suspect people. Now, when you're at the third level of targeting, like I am, which is NLP, electronic, then demonic, there might be a fourth level, which is the same as the third, which is alien targeting, but I won't discuss that. So let's just call it demonic targeting, and that covers any consciousness that can intrude into your mind and still remain conscious of itself as it's in your mind, as you're being conscious of yourself, where you're conscious of another consciousness being conscious of itself. We'll call it demonic, whether it's a human being, an alien, a spirit, whatever. We just call that demonic targeting. Now, demonic targeting introduces the concept of thought stalking. Yeah, where you have gang stalking out here. Where in my previous video I told you about the transitions that can, the transition errors that can lead to disease and epidemics and pandemics and so forth. Where if you're turning from A to B and somebody does something, that's neuro-linguistic programming, that your subconscious can take to. Yeah, that's when they're outside of your body. But just imagine it in your mind, when you're making turns in your mind, when you're thinking about a piece of paper. Yeah, then you start turning towards thinking about a cup of tea. And as you're making that transition in your mind, you say, okay, right, I'm thinking about that book I read. Oh, let me start thinking about tea. As you're making that transition, remember there's a consciousness in your mind, and it's conscious of itself. It's watching you as you're thinking about that, and it's watching the transition. Between the transitions, it can also do the programming in your mind with those transitions. And this is the same demonic entity that is the reason why you must not ignore your suspicions. Yeah, and this is the main crux of the talk. Now, if something happened that made you suspect a family member, or that made you suspect a close friend, yeah, let's say you wanted to go on and be with a woman, yeah, but you wanted to keep it secret, and you trusted this information to your friend. You said, look, there's this woman I want, but don't tell anyone. And then all of the sudden, her people find out. You were careful to keep it quiet, her people find out. You're gonna suspect your friend for having said something, yeah. But as you know, TIs have been saying this for decades. When you think you know, you don't know, because there's a consciousness in your mind is listening to all the suspicions you have. If he sees you suspecting your friend, yeah, then I can't explain it because I'm a victim. I don't know how they do it. Then as soon as you suspect your friend, it's like looking for lost car keys. Everywhere you think you put it, it's not there until the last possible place. It's the same thing. As soon as you suspect your friend, it's not him. When you go and then some evidence will turn up and it's not him, or you have an alibi or something like that. But when you don't suspect him and he sees that you're not suspecting him, then it's him. Yeah, it works the same way. Like I said, when you lost something and there's 5 possible places you have to look for. If you only look at one, it's going to be the next one. You have to look at all 5 to be sure that you found it. Yeah, so you have to suspect for it not to be your friend. It could still be, because it could still bluff. It could bluff with you. Yeah, so let's say now you suspect your friend and you're like, listen, they've caught our relationship. Did you say anything? Yeah, and he might be puzzled and say, oh my God, that's very bad. I didn't, I was actually in another country at the time or whatever, something like that. So he'll have an alibi. But if you don't suspect him, yeah, you might later on catch him talking with the woman's family or something like that. And that becomes the reality that manifests. So you have to suspect, but that doesn't mean you should react. You have to suspect as a strategy of showing the demon that's watching your mind that you're suspecting that. Because as soon as it sees you not suspecting it, it's going to be something else. Yeah. So you have to weaponize the way you suspect. Don't tell yourself, oh, if I'm suspicious of things, I'm going to be a paranoid schizophrenic. You only become a schizophrenic when you let your suspicions rule you. Yeah. When you let emotions rule you. So you suspect, you get so angry, but you don't have any evidence to say that your friend done it. You don't have any evidence. If you have evidence, then obviously you react to the evidence. But when you suspect without evidence, you're dealing with demonic suspicions here. It's like I said, losing your car keys. You still have to suspect, but don't react until you have evidence. Never do anything until you have evidence. But you must suspect. If I don't want my friends to have suspicion, I suspect them. If I don't want my friends to act suspiciously, I suspect them. Because I know that if the first place I look is my friends and family, it's not going to be there. But I have to look anyway, because if I don't look, it might double bluff and it turns out to be that. Yeah, you just deal with evidence. Whenever you have suspicions that don't have evidence, you don't deal with that. And another topic I wanted to touch on was the concept of love and why you mustn't let that rule you, and why it's the same thing. Yeah, once they see that you love someone, yeah, they're gonna target that person. If you're a targeted individual, everything you love is gonna be targeted, yeah, in the same way. Yeah, when you think someone loves you, it's gonna turn out that they don't. When you don't think they love you, it's gonna turn out that they loved you all along. Yeah, so it's a tragic story for targeted individuals. I don't know if it happens to those who are not targeted, but love is the way. The only being I know of that knows how to deal with it is Jesus, because when you have love in an enclosure, yeah, you allow type A's, yeah, type A people to gain empathy and love from their family and friends, but they don't love, yeah, they just see you as an opportunity, yeah. Now if you have an enclosure, they'll eventually get to the top, because everyone who loves them will defend them regardless of what crap they do to you. You could go to someone who loves them and say, look, do you know that your family member or your friend is, seeing into my mind? They're like, leave him alone. They become really defensive. So they can do all kinds of evil, but because they know that people love them, they get away with it. And if they have enough people loving them, they get to the top. So the way Jesus dealt with that, we're not even supposed to be in enclosed spaces when we're doing Christianity. Did you ever see Jesus saying, right, I'm going to make this my house of prayer? Everywhere he was, that's where the church is. Yeah, but he never had specialist buildings. Yeah, specialist buildings and said, okay, we must pray at specialist building. He would rather go out in the mountain, on the mount somewhere, and pray there. He never enclosed love, because if you have these type A's in an enclosed situation, they'll turn up into our congregation and they'll start changing us to believe in what they believe. Yeah, they don't respect God, and they see themselves as God, so they don't see why we should have restrictions, and they'll be talking to your congregation when you're enclosing it. But when you're on the outside, the Almighty can deal with it. Yeah, and it helps you, because you're not supposed to confine love to a space. You're not supposed to say, I love someone, so I'm going to own them and keep them to myself. Yeah, if you love someone, then, you have to let the whole world enjoy them, innit? So, you can't, but these are type A's. They love the wrong way. They love to own what they love. Yeah, everything they own, everything they love, they turn into something that they own. Yeah, I want to own you because I love you. Yeah, but me, the way I do that is like, I enjoy you. Yeah, but I enjoy seeing you free. Yeah, and I just like or love seeing you free. Yeah, so I don't want to put you in chains, because what you become when you're in chains is not going to be something I love. I just love the vibrant energy you have when you're free, when no one's owning you, like a bird or something. I just like seeing you when you're like that. But they love you, but because they love you, they want to own you. They want to, like a dog. Yeah, you love your pets, don't you? Yeah, that's why you put them on a leash. Yeah, because if you took the leash off, he don't want to be kept on a leash. He'll run off. He'll be 1,000 miles away, and you're like, I think my dog got lost. He didn't get lost. He's trying to get away from you. Nobody wants to be put in chains or put on leashes. Yeah, he didn't get lost. He knows what he's doing. He's trying to get away from you. Yeah, so type A's love to own what they love. Yeah, when the type A falls in love with someone, he wants to own that. He doesn't care if another person's there in love with them. As soon as they fall in love, they don't care. They expect the system to work for them. And you're like, but they'll take, those are the ones who take our women. They go into our women's minds, and if the woman doesn't understand that happens, he'll go and sit in her mind, and he'll even talk as her. Yeah, where they could stop you from having, sex in your relationship, because every time you come up to it, you'll just go into her mind, and as soon as the woman opens her mouth to say no, legally you have to abide by that. You go into her mind and say no. But because she doesn't believe that can happen, they just the women let it happen. When you see them possessing your woman, and you try to explain you have to explain to her what happens in life for her to understand how to protect herself. Because remember, the best way to beat magic is to know how it works. Like when you were young and somebody did that trick to you, yeah, you were really, really amazed, didn't it? But when you saw how it's done, you're like, oh, okay. So it doesn't work anymore once you know how it works. So by letting your woman know the tricks they're using, when it happens again, she'll be like, oh, and she'll know. But because they're programmed not to know, we TIs can't be with other women who are not TIs, because they'll just go into their minds and they won't know to fight back. Somebody, even just yesterday, there was a woman where she had been showing the cues that she might be interested, or she might just be silly, and then she just all of a sudden said, I'm not interested. And I'm like, I didn't even ask you. Yeah, it's like something assumed that I had asked her and open her mouth to say it. So you have to respect people when they say no. Somebody says, I don't want you in my body, I don't want you in my personal space. You respect that at all times, because they're the same ones who start off the conversations to slander you. Yeah. And sometimes they start off conversations based on things you thought in your head. So when you're transitioning from one thought to another, yeah, you must be careful that every transition you make is an opportunity to do neuro-linguistic programming. And if it's in your mind, every time you transition from one thought to another, it changes the way it feels to affect your ability to switch from that thought to the other one. Now, these are intricate intricate results. As a target, yeah, I'm describing what I go through when you switch from one thought to another. But I think in a very quick way, when you switch from thinking about a book to thinking about a cup of tea, yeah, within that period, you could sense the change. I mean, you have a flat emotional profile, but you can sense an emotion moving up and down. That's not your subconscious. You can sense that there's another demon in there that is trying to make himself feel a certain way to stop you from thinking certain things. Yeah. How do I know this? Because I'm describing what I've experienced. I've never been taught it. The best expert, yeah, the most expert opinion you can get about a subject, yeah, is from the subject, the victim. Like, if you want to know psychology, the best people to ask are those with psychological conditions, because they're the ones who've gone through the treatment. They know what the treatment does. They know how to cure. I'm somebody who's cured myself of psychological illness. Yeah. And the only thing I used to cure that was just to know that there's no such thing as normal. Normal is like a bell curve. You can't look for one specific normal. That's where neurosis starts. Yeah. So as soon as I figured out that there's no point trying to be normal because it doesn't exist, just try to be within the range, I was cured. And part of the cure is recognizing that you do have a problem. Yeah. The problem was suspicion, but then you can't get rid of suspicion, because if you don't suspect and they see that you don't suspect, they'll take you for a mug. It will be your friends and family that did it because they saw into your mind and you had that transitional error of not suspecting them. When we have friends and family who do you, yeah, who perpetrate on you, who see into your thoughts, if they find you not suspecting them, it's them that done it. Yeah. So suspicion is very important, and you have to know how to suspect the right way. Okay.